Movies unfold action as it happens. The clock is ticking. The pressure is on. Will our heroes make it in time to save the day? And what if the action is going on in more than one place at the same time? The right choices made in editing can put an audience on the edge of their seats. It's a matter of determining how the pieces come together and how quickly. Today, I want to look at how one of America's most innovative and influential filmmakers early in the history of the medium discovered some of the basic tricks of the trade when it came to making movies more exciting. This is 100-Year-Old Movies. The Lonely Villa is a 1909 American crime drama directed by D.W. Griffith for the Biograph Company. It's based on the French play At the Telephone by André Delorde, a playwright known for his grand guignol plays of terror and madness, who is dubbed by his peers as the Prince of Fear. The story follows some burglars who invade the home of a wealthy man after he leaves for the day. When he discovers his wife and children are in danger, he rushes back with the police to save them. Griffith was a prolific filmmaker who'd started directing for the Biograph Company the previous year in 1908. He'd be responsible for some of their most successful films, launching the careers of a number of performers, including Florence Lawrence, the first movie star the public would know by name. He'd direct around 400 short films before making his first feature, the controversial and massively successful The Birth of a Nation in 1915. He may not have invented the techniques, but he did popularize their use in narrative films. As a result, his is among the biggest footprint left on the early days of cinema as an art form. Churning out a high volume of short subjects gave him opportunity to experiment. He managed to be both ambitious and consistent. The Lonely Villa is a good example of this. The scenes with the burglars conspiring is a great composition, with their sneering faces at the lower left foreground and establishing the house in the upper right background. A still frame of this would communicate all we need to know about these characters' intentions. The scenes in the house provide us with a clear sense of space and how one room leads to another. This is needed for understanding the ground the burglars are going to cover to reach the safe. A gun is introduced for the heroine's defense, but disarmed by a disguised burglar. We can also see a telephone on the right of the frame that will allow them to call for help. This is well-crafted execution of setup and payoff in storytelling. By the way, the eldest daughter in this short is Mary Pickford. She'd go on to be a big star in Griffith's later feature films, worked in the industry for decades, had an incredible legacy. The main attraction begins when the man leaves for town and the burglars break in. Griffith cuts between the family in peril and the man going into town, his ignorance of their plight building the tension as the audience waits to see if, when, and how he will discover they're in danger. The burglars advance. Cut to the man calling from town to check in. I enjoy this moment of confused disbelief on his face as the wife informs him they're in danger. The actor pantomiming pulling the trigger is a great way to silently communicate that he's telling his wife to use the gun. But the gun doesn't work, which we, the audience, already knew it wouldn't. This isn't looking good for the family. He commandeers a horse and buggy because, after all, this is still the early 1900s, so that makes sense. Here's the real trick of this short, the reason to put it on the map in film history. As it cross-cuts between the burglars advancing on the family and the man rushing home with the police, the cuts get shorter each time. This simple trick of editing picks up the pace and creates a sense of urgency that puts the audience on edge. Simple and yet brilliant in its simplicity. and instead of showing the man enter the house, it cuts right to him running in on the burglars. The building blocks of narrative storytelling in film are made up of these kinds of simple tricks. Look at suspense thrillers over the next 100 years of film, from Hitchcock to Brian De Palma to David Fincher, and you'll find they use this one. In the early days of silent film, so many of these techniques were discovered, more than at any other time in film history. Films like The Lonely Villa show us how much was figured out in such a short amount of time. I'm Movie Cyclops. Thanks for watching.